America's housing crisis is showing no signs of easing. There's a new report by Harvard University's Joint Housing Center, and it highlights some concerning trends in the market, and perhaps many of you are experiencing this already. Costs for homeowners have hit record highs. In 2024, the average monthly mortgage payment was $2,570, and as you see here, that is nearly triple, 3 times what it was 10 years ago. Chris Herbert is the managing director for Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies, and he joins us now from Lexington in Massachusetts to break down that data. 3 times as much. Chris, good morning to you. What does this report say about the future of the housing market? Many folks at home have already given up on looking.
Well, good morning, Errol. It's great to be with you. The future right now is not looking great in the sense that, as you point out, we're facing record unaffordability for home buyers. And if you look at the situation for renters, it's no better. A record number of renters are spending more than 30% of their income on housing, a level that is typically deemed to be cost burdened. So where do we go from here? It's simple but cruel math. The reason why we're in this problem is that the cost of housing, both producing and operating it, has gone up much faster than incomes. That's the cost of building materials, the cost of land, the cost of financing, and the cost of operating, property taxes, insurance. So how do we get out of it? Well, what we need to do is lean into how do we bring down the cost of housing to make it more affordable for people.
We know that a lot of people with low interest rates want to hang on to that as long as they can, so they're not leaving their homes, and there's been a supply shortage as well. So how can any of this be addressed so that people who want to purchase, especially for millennials and Gen Z, their first homes, can have assets and upward mobility, which housing typically provides?
It is a difficult time, particularly for first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
You know, the number of homes sold last year was a 30-year low. And as you point out, a big piece of that is the fact that so many homeowners are sitting on low mortgage rates and have very little incentive to move. So what do we do for first-time home buyers? Again, I think what we do is we need to lean into different ways of making that housing that transaction more affordable, things like down payment assistance, things like interest rate incentives that can happen through state housing finance agencies and the like. But we also need to lean into how do we produce smaller, simpler housing. So that means single family homes that are smaller and smaller lots, townhomes and condos. And so I think part of it is local governments that need to make sure that their zoning allows for this higher density, smaller housing that will help give people an entry point for home ownership that's hard to get today.
I think that's a really interesting option. I know our Chris Van Cleve has done stories in Phoenix, for example, where they've built small standalone homes that are actually meant to be rented and never owned. What are some of the other creative ideas? Because the consequences if this is left unchecked is what exactly?
Well, the consequences are that we're going to have a whole generation of folks who are blocked from getting access to home ownership. They're not going to be able to build wealth that allows them to be able to keep moving up the housing ladder. What we're already seeing is the fact that entry-level home ownership has been so hard to attain. More and more upper-income renters, people are staying as renters. That's putting more pressure back on the rental market. So we do need to find a way to get people into home ownership to kind of free up the whole sequence of housing for people lower down the income spectrum as well.
Yeah, if viewers are watching this and they feel stressed out because of the unaffordability, at the very least, now they know they are not alone. Chris Herbert, great to chat with you today. Thanks for your time.